Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. It's always a joy to be with him and hear Torah out of Israel and specifically out of Jerusalem and from the Noahide World Center, because he's always tailors the messages for us of the 70 nations. And we're joined in our Zoom room as usual by people from all around the globe. We just had Daniel from Bogota jump in. We got Anna in Norway. And of course, we got many in the UK, Mama Jean and the McConaughey's. And we've got Hans down in South America as well. Plus, we've got Tony in Arizona. We got people from all over the planet. We got Chris down in South Africa. It's just a joy to be with a lot of people all around the globe and to share with you folks on YouTube and Facebook out from the Noahide World Center. So let's just jump right in. Rabbi Goldberg, good to see you, sir. It's your class. It's your stage, sir. I'm going to be quiet.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from Israel.
Good evening.
From Jerusalem, from Israel. Good to see you all. We have also Yaakov Yacobi, who came to us from India. You didn't mention him. Also, good evening, everybody. First of all, it's very important to note that I know that Dan, need to do a break for a few weeks, and we're wishing you a lot of success in the exams and the other things that you're doing. But we are going to continue on to broadcast from Jerusalem, okay? Every week. There will be a break in the holidays, in the Israeli holidays, okay? Because we have Rosh Hashanah and we have Yom Kippur. So those holidays we need to do a break, but except for that, it's I think in the beginning of September, but it's another few weeks. We have another 4 or 5 weeks that we can learn. So we'll continue on learning. And I will try also to broadcast this on the YouTube as well. So if people ask, this is the answer. And we are all welcome to continue on and to learn together. Hope everything is good with everybody all over the world. Let's go on. Let's learn something from the Bible we didn't learn normally in the last 2 weeks. So let's try to continue on. Okay, we came across, we already finished the first 2 chapters of Genesis. I'm reminding us all, the first 12 chapters of Genesis they have something very unique in all over the world, because every nation usually said that they were the beginning of the world and the rest came from them. And the Israeli people who brought the things through the prophecy, through the truth of speaking with God, is the only one of the old nations who are saying that God started everything with one man, and even the woman came out from him, and therefore we have the possibility of becoming brothers at the end of the days. And the first 12 chapters are not speaking about Israel. Israel is not yet in the world. Okay, we're speaking about things that are related to all humankind. It's not regardless the skin color, the races that they came from, the country they're living in, anything. Okay, the first 12 chapters are speaking for everybody. And we also did another division between the first 3 chapters and the rest, because the first 3 chapters speaking about things that I will say in the atmosphere of heaven. This is how we can call it. The first 2 chapters are explaining a bit how the world, how God created this world, and those are 2 different points of view. The first chapter is speaking where man wasn't in this world, and he came at the end to the world only on Friday, and the last day of the week. And the second chapter is speaking where man is the most important thing. And from the beginning, also the seeds, nothing was growing up because man wasn't praying, davening, wasn't connecting with God. And everything was waiting that man will pray to God, that everything will start. So those are 2 different point of views about the world that we have till today. Till today, we need to know that from one side, we are very important figure in this world. We are like the messengers for all of the world with the words, with the speech with God. This is the second chapter. On the other side, if we are feeling too much good with ourselves and we're managing to have a lot of proud that we are the most important thing here, so we need to remember the first chapter, where we know that the first chapter, man was created, the last one in the world. So, be a bit humble with yourself. It's true that you have a very big figure here, but from the other side, you also need to remember your place. Now let's dive inside to chapter number 3. Chapter number 3 is very important because it's speaking about the first sin of Adam and Eve. We spoke already more than once about the difference between the way that the Hebrew people look on this chapter and the Christian world. But I want to teach a few very basic things from this chapter that, again, are related to all of us, all over the world, regardless from where we came and what religion we held in previous years. Very simple things. So with your permission, I will share the screen and we'll start. We'll go inside to chapter number 3 where we came. Chapter number 3. We say, just a moment. Okay. Let's read for a moment verse number 7. And from there on, we will start to understand what happened there and what's going on. So please, Dan, read verse number 7.
7. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves and made themselves girdles.
When we say that the eyes of both of them were opened from what? What happened there that something opened their eyes? Who knows? Who remember? Not all of you together, okay? Don't be shy. Let's read Rashi for a moment. And the eyes of both of them were, and they knew that they were naked. Please read this Rashi.
Even a blind man knows when he is naked. What then is the meaning of, and they knew that they were naked? They had one commandment in their possession, and they became denuded to it.
Okay.
Denuded of it.
They denuded only one thing God asked them to do. And this thing was not to eat from the fruits of good and bad, good and evil. Okay? Now we learn those things, we learn those sentences. We can read them again. You know what? Maybe I need to open them again in chapter number 2, because we're going to do a bit of to see the exact what happened there between those two things. What exactly God told them and what exactly happened to them. So let's see what exactly this snake. Okay, I don't know why serpent. Okay, serpent, snake. What exactly he did that they got naked or they denied this thing of God. Now, we're starting with it's a bit bothering me here, just a moment. Okay. We're starting with a very interesting word. The word in Hebrew, okay, והנחש היה ערום מכל חיית השדה. So, please read this verse number 1.
Now the serpent was cunning more than all the beasts of the field that the Lord God had made. And it said to the woman, did God indeed say, you shall not eat of any of the trees of the garden?
First of all, the word arum, okay, in Hebrew is related also, from one side, the word is naked, okay? On the other side, the word is very, very smart. And what we're saying here, that this serpent was a very, very smart, I'll say, serpent. It's similar a bit to Adam and Eve, okay? He was able to speak with Adam and Eve. Again, we're speaking about something that it might be more allegory. It's hard to think today about the snakes who are speaking, or any animal who is speaking with men. But we're saying that there is some sort of an animal that came to the level that could speak with the human, with Adam and Eve. If we remember in chapter number 1, God is asking from the earth to do men. Now, after that, in chapter number 2, we know that God wasn't letting only the earth to do men, but also did some actions with these men. He gave his breath inside to these men. So maybe we're speaking about something that is an old, ancient, some sort of a man that was there that spoke with a woman. But I have a very big question. What exactly is the snake, the serpent, what exactly is he saying to the woman? You shall not eat of any of the trees of the garden. I'm asking all of you, please don't be shy. You can look in chapter number 2. You can all open chapter number 2 and look what exactly God said to Adam and Eve. If you want, I will give you chapter number 2 here. Let's see it for a moment. Here it is.
Rabbi, can I ask a question? Because that word cunning, that word that you're describing in Hebrew, a lot of English translations use the word subtle, that the serpent was more subtle. And the definition of that word subtle means so delicate or precise so as to be difficult to analyze or describe. And one thing I've heard from the rabbis in the past is the description of someone who speaks with a forked tongue, somebody who has dualistic meaning in their speech as a way of life. And you can't tell what they're really saying because what they're saying is ambiguous, and it could mean one thing or it could mean another. It's subtle in the sense that
Good point,
it's cunning. Dan. I will answer that. Okay, let's answer that. I think that you're all of you, you're pushing me to say things that I didn't thought that I'm going to speak here. But
prepare about. Oh, sorry, Rabbi.
No, it's okay. If you ask me those questions, so we need to say about those things. I'll say it like that. We're speaking here about one creature. Okay, Adam. It's in the Hebrew tradition, we're saying that God did Adam. Okay, Adam is one creature who have 3 parts inside him. Okay, look at this in this way. You have the side of the man, the side of the woman, and the side of the serpent. Now, what exactly is the side of the serpent? The side of the serpent is the maximum that the earth, or I will say that the nature can take out from itself. Now, if I will ask all of you, what is the maximum that the nature can take out?
I don't understand what you mean, Rabbi Chaim. What do you mean by maximum the earth can take?
Let's go back to chapter number 1.
Right.
Okay.
Can I say something to Dan there? Hey.
Yes, you can say yes.
Well, because in the Tanakh that I have, it's saying using the word shrewdest, not subtle.
Right. But Dan is right. Okay, and this is a. Give me a few minutes, you will understand exactly why this is the translation that they're using. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Let's look for a moment. Okay. If you will see in chapter number 1, okay, at the beginning, in chapter number 1, God is saying, and God said, "Let there be light." But if we will continue on, we will see that God made, okay, an expanse, and it separated between the water that was below the expanse and the water that above the expanse. So God did something here, okay? And then we see where God is not creating anything. What is he doing? And God said, "Let the water that is beneath the heavens gather into one place, and then let the dry land appear." So he didn't create anything. The only thing that he did, he removed things from one side to another side. Okay? Fair enough. Let's go to chapter number 12. Verse number 12. and the earth gave forth vegetation. Okay, God is saying in verse number 11, let the earth sprout out vegetation. He is not creating vegetation. He is asking the earth to create it out. You see that? So we
Yeah.
to continue on, while God is using, I will say, it's a bit similar. It's a bit similar. We need to be careful with what Darwin said. Okay, that things went out from the earth. But this is what's written down. Things went out from the earth. And then also in verse number 14, God is saying, let there be luminaries in the expanse of the heavens. So he's not creating something new. Okay? When is he creating something? Let's go on. Again in verse number 20, okay? And God said, let the water swarm, swarming of living creatures. But he's not creating anything. In verse number 21, suddenly, God is creating something. And God created the great sea monsters. We didn't hear that he created from the first verse, okay, where he created the light. We didn't hear that he created anything till now.
Okay.
Fair enough. Let's continue on. Let's read. Dan, please read verse number 24. And God said,
24. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kind, cattle and creeping things, and the beasts of the earth according to their kind. And it was so.
So we're speaking here about living creatures according to the kind. If you will ask me, it's including also the men. God was sure that the earth will be able to take out a man from itself, just like it managed to take out the
creeping things and beasts,
the vegetations, and the other things. Now I will ask you, what happened in verse number 26?
And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness.
Something broke down there. The earth didn't manage to take out the maximum. The maximum the earth managed to do was less than what God expected. You see what's happening here between 24 and 26?
Oh.
Just to open the eyes, what's written down. The earth is taking out something, and God is saying, no, it's not good enough. I need to put inside him something else. In chapter number 2, we're learning exactly what he put inside. He put inside a part that was not being held in men, okay, from the earth, okay. And this is what. Please read verse number 7, Dan. We're in chapter 2.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust from the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the soul of life, and man became a living soul.
Now look good. It's a very different word. He formed man. In Hebrew, it says vayitzer. Okay, God in the beginning said, "I will do vayas," but at the end, he didn't manage to do it. Only vayitzer. It's a different word, and he gave him inside living soul. So now we have basically, if I will say it like that, two kinds of men in this world. One that the earth managed to take out, and the other one that God created. And the one that the earth managed to take out, this is what we call, okay, the serpent. Now, to explain this a bit more, I will go another step. As I said before, all three of them, man, woman, and the serpent, were inside the man. So let's try to examine inside us, where do we have all those three? The part of the man and the woman, okay, we spoke about. Each one of us have components of the man and the woman. And today we have in this world two different living creatures, part from Mars and part from how do you call it? From Ma'adim. Okay, how do you call this thing? Those are, we have the woman and the men. But we have another part inside us. Okay? Let me say this loud and clear. This is the brain side. It's related to all of us together. We are all learning mathematics through the understanding of the big philosophers. We're speaking about philosophers 2,000 years ago, speaking about what's his name? Plato is speaking about
Pilates,
Pilates. No, it's yes.
Pluto.
We're speaking about all the big philosophers who explain to us all the mathematics, where basically the brain that we have is very, as Dan said, you can say one thing and you can explain another thing, and you can explain for yourself the third way. You have a lot of interesting ways to think inside yourself, and for everything you will manage to say that everything is true. And this is exactly the word that Dan said that we are using. So we have the brain side, okay, who is going to the woman side, inside Adam and Eve, okay, and starting to speak with him. And look, I want to show you how much the brain can flip us out from the right path. And this is what we're going to see now in those verses. This is what we're going to see, okay? The first thing that that he is doing is asking a very simple question. Did God indeed say, you shall not eat of any of the trees of the garden? This is a very tricky question, because if I'm asking myself in chapter number 2, let's look for a moment and let's see exactly what God said to them, okay? God said something else. Please read verse number 16.
And the Lord God commanded man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat.
So this serpent is saying something all the way totally different. By the way, the translation in 17 here, in 16 is not very good, okay? Because when it says here only freely eat, in the Hebrew it says something very, very unique and something that you don't find in a lot of places in the Bible, in the Torah. It says, achol tochel, eat more than that, eat how much that you want, but please, this is what I'm obeying you to do, to eat as much as you can, okay? Eat more and more. So the serpent is starting with a very tricky question. He's asking and he's saying, God said to you, you shall not eat of any of the trees of the garden? Now, we need to understand, there is a logic there. So in a moment, I will explain this logic, okay? But the woman is answering something very interesting. Please read verse number 2.
And the woman said to the serpent, of the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat.
Now, please explain to me, is what she's answering is the right answer, or she's answering something weak?
It's weak,
Very weak.
very
Why?
weak.
Why?
Because she should have said immediately, no, that's not what God said. God said you can eat from any of the trees in the garden except the one in the middle. That should have been the answer, and it should have been the end of that conversation.
Exactly. And when he is saying, and when she's answering, you may eat, you can hear from this that he didn't want us to eat too much. He is preferring that we won't eat, but we have also permission to eat. So it's not the answer. It's not what God said.
Not the whole answer, yeah.
Okay. Now this is very good position for the serpent to go to another step. But before that, she's doing another very big mistake. Please read verse number 3.
But of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, God said, you shall not eat of it, and you shall not touch it, lest you die.
What exactly she added? Who knows?
Touch
I
it
think-
and die.
Yeah, I think she's putting a spin on what the serpent said. She's kind of hoping that she can change things according to what her inner desires, because inside of her she's very curious. I think she really wants to eat it, but she doesn't know how to come about doing that. So by saying this, you shall not eat of it, okay, it has to stop there. And you shall not touch, but touching is not going to do any harm.
Okay, so you're saying the issue of the touching. Dan, you said about the dying.
Yeah.
I'm going back. I'm jumping back. Okay. Just a moment. I will jumping back. Please read verse number 17. Done.
Oh, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for on the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die.
So there are two main differences here. Okay. First of all, here God is saying, you shall surely die. It's not a question. Okay. Let's see what exactly she said in verse number 3. And you shall not touch it. Least you die. You might die. It might be true. It might be not true. I don't know. Suddenly, we can hear that there is a doubt with the words of God. This is a very important difference that she did. Second thing,
Rabbi Chaim?
just a moment. Second thing, we never saw that God is not allowing her to touch the tree. This is all the way totally something that she added for herself. Nobody said to her that she's not allowed to touch the tree, right? We see three differences in those two sentences, three differences. I'm summarizing and then I will give you everybody time to ask. First one is that she's changing the words of God. God is saying, eat from everything except for one tree. And she's saying, we may eat from it. Second thing is she's adding that we are not allowed to touch. God never said it. And the third thing, I think that this is the most harmless thing, the most bad thing that she did. She is adding that while God said, you shall die, it's for sure that you shall die. She said, maybe we will die, maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay? Three main differences between what God said and what the woman said. In a moment, we'll see how the serpent is managing to fool her down, we'll say it like that, and that she's eating from the tree because, and I will explain all the logic of what happened here. Yes, question still now.
I wanted to ask, it almost seems like Hava, when she says, lest you'll die, it's almost like she doesn't know what death means. So she's kind of like, what's the right word? Underestimating the consequences of what might happen, or just saying, if we touch it, we'll die, but I don't really know what that death means. So
you're trying to say
maybe there's a confusion in her head. And I also think that this is what happens when people gossip. When you start talking about other people, oh, that's what they said. No, this is not what they said. And all of a sudden, a real meaning becomes something else when people gossip. That's what I'm also gathering this information.
Okay. First of all, it's an interesting understanding. I do think that she knew what is to die, what it is to die. But it's a good point what you're saying. Okay, there's something that she had a doubt. Okay, I'm going with you. She had a doubt, and this doubt is something very important that is bringing. In a moment, you will understand everything. But I agree with you that she had some sort of a doubt. I don't know exactly to nail the doubt. Maybe the doubt was what you said. But let's continue on. Okay. More question or something that you want to ask? If not, I'm going on another few sentences and everything will be clear. Yes.
I have a question. How could she have the knowledge of death if they have
exactly
death?
How she had the knowledge of death?
Yeah. How would she understand you will die? They've never had that experience.
Yes.
Never saw anybody die.
question.
But good question. By the way, we never saw someone who died and came back to tell us what it is. So we also don't have this experience, thank God. Not yet, hopefully only after 120 years. Maybe she saw animals dying. Why not? Maybe she saw animals dying.
Maybe.
The understanding of death is something that, by the way, we know already that at this point she gave birth to Cain, to Abel, and the twins. okay, the woman's with them. So she already gave life. At this point of time, she already gave life. And it's something that you're starting to understand, to adjust. What is it to give life? Again, I'm saying, I agree with you that there is some sort of a doubt there. Okay, the women have a doubt. What exactly the doubt? I don't think that the doubt is what is life and what is death, but it might be also that this is part of the doubt. The main doubt that she have is if the words of God are exact words, or maybe God is not speaking in exact way, or say it more, even more hard than that. Who is sure that God is exist to do those things? She had a doubt. And I will show you that this is also what the serpent is doing now. Okay, it's very simple. What is he doing? What he is doing now? First of all, he is declaring something very clear and very loud. Dan, are you with us?
Of course, Rabbi.
Please read verse number 4.
And the serpent said to the woman, "You will surely not die."
Okay, so first of all, he's saying, God said to you one thing, I'm saying another thing. Again, see, only in our brain we are managing to say one thing and just the opposite in the same way, and to explain to ourselves that we are all right. Please read Rashi what exactly he did to her.
You will surely not die. He pushed her until she touched it. He said to her, just as there is no death in touching, so is there no death in eating.
Okay, very simple to convince her now. And don't forget, as also you said before, this is a very nice tree, very good tree. Everybody wants to eat from this tree. And he's saying another very, very important thing. And we need to read verse number 5 and to read Rashi for verse number 5 to understand exactly what is his claim and how he managed to bring her to the situation that she will eat from this tree. Please.
5. For God knows that on the day that you eat thereof, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like angels, knowing good and evil. For God knows every craftsman hates his fellow craftsman. He, God, ate of the tree and created the world. In Genesis, Rabbah 19:4, and you will be like angels, creators of worlds. From Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 13.
Okay, so what he's saying basically, he's saying, you know why you can't eat from this tree? Because this tree is bringing you to the level that you are just like God. Now, I want to remind you all, we spoke about this a few times. One of the most important things that in the Hebrew tradition we say, that we don't have, I will say, any competition with God. God is helping us. The snake is coming through the eyes of the competition with God. I'm bringing you all the time 2 stories from the old ancient Greeks about this competition. The first one is the difference between bringing the fire, okay? You know that we have one step above the animals with the fire, and this is also bringing us all the possibilities that we have today with all of the technologies and everything else. We know how to control the fire, usually, and we decide when to do it and when not to do it. If you're asking the ancient Greeks and all sorts of mythologies a long time ago, they will say that Prometheus stole the light from the aliens and they punished him. It's some sort of a competition. In the Hebrew tradition, we say that God gave him 2 stones and he taught him how to bring light from this thing. We see that there is a connection between God and man, and he's helping him. He's asking him to become part of his behavior in this world, to be partnership to bring the world to an advanced situation. The second story I do like to bring is Daedalus and Icarus. Okay, those 2 who flew. Okay,
Icarus.
And he said to him, don't get too close to the sun because the wax will melt down and you will die. And both of them died because he came closer to the sun. So you're not allowed to go too much high to the aliens. This is the understanding of that. In the Hebrew tradition, we say that God took us on the wings of the eagle. This is the most highest bird that is going high, okay? The wing of the eagles, he took us out from Egypt. So he's bringing us to the upper level. We are not in a competition with God. Here he is stating that we are in a competition with God. So let's see who is going to be smarter, who is going to be more brave, who is going to be more the one who is creating in this world. And this is where the woman is falling down with everything. And please read verse number 6.
Verse 6, and the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and the tree was desirable to make one wise. So she took of its fruit, and she ate. And she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate.
And the next verse will be very simple. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they swelled a fig of leaves and made themselves girdles. And we say that what is the eye opened and what is the naked, that they missed only one thing that they had in their life. God asked them to do one thing and they missed it. But I want to explain that everything is starting here. It's very interesting, the starting point of everything. And for that, we need to see for a moment again, verses number 16 and 17 in chapter number 2. Please read them, Dan, and I will explain here something very interesting.
I'm sorry, which verse, Rabbi?
16 and 17.
16, and the Lord God commanded man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for on the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die.
Now, it's very interesting. God is saying, listen good, God is saying you shall eat from everything. We explained already that the word eating is also knowledge, like eating. When I'm eating something, it's inside my body and it's becoming part of me. To learn and to do everything in this world, except for one small, tiny, bitty tree that is in the middle of the garden, okay? Except for that, eat everything. Now, what is happening usually to someone that you're saying to him, don't eat from my marshmallow? You are not allowed to eat from the marshmallow. What is happening to him? You are allowed to eat from everything except for the marshmallow. Usually what's happening, that he wants to eat from the marshmallow. And this is exactly what happened to the woman. This is exactly how everything started here. He's starting here with the saying, did God indeed say you shall not eat from any trees of the garden? Now, he's not a stupid person, okay? The mind or the brain is not stupid. But what he's doing is very sneaky. He's saying something very simple. If you're not allowed, if there is one tree that you're not allowed to eat from, nothing is worthless. So you're not allowed to eat from anything. So you're allowed to eat from other things. Who cares? You're not allowed to eat from anything. Is it true that God indeed said to you, you shall not eat from any of the trees of the garden? Because if I'm not allowed to eat from this tree, nothing is worthless. And from there on, you can see what's happening to the woman. She's saying to him, she's going with him. She said, from the others we may eat. It's not worth it because I'm not allowed to eat from this tree. Okay? And then she's adding this thing of the touching. So he's convincing her, you see, you won't die. You are in a competition with God. So this all starts, just a moment, sorry.
Wow, pretty excellent, right, guys? I'm just amazed. Yeah. One thing I want to point out, the word for serpent in Hebrew, nakash, is also the same word for diviner, okay? If you understand what divination is and follow it thoroughly. So the question of conversation and a forked tongue language to actually try to teach the woman a different way that is incorrect. And I think what the rabbi's clarifying is the order with which Hashem shared.
Okay, thank you, Dan. This is exactly what's happening here. There are two. The brain that we have can confuse us. Okay, can confuse us from the right path without any problems, because it's very tricky, the brain that we have, and it can bring us to do things just the opposite from what we're supposed to do. But it all starts also with a misunderstanding, I would say, with the relationship with God. And this is also what the serpent is trying to do. He's saying to her that if you will eat from this, you will become like God. And more than that, you will surely not die. Okay, the opposite from God. And this is where the brain can do things just the opposite from the truth. And the question is, where is our will with this situation? Because if our will is with the things that are not allowed, it's much easier to fall down, to slip down to those things. But if our will is to try to enlighten and to empower the things that we have, and from there on to continue things, this is the right way of growing up, okay, and doing the right things. And this is the first point I wanted to share or to show from this story of the woman and the snake, serpent, and men. Very clear, because it's something that is related to every humankind, every human here in this world, and especially for those who are working or learning or working on the field of education, they know that, especially when you're speaking or dealing with teenagers, that there is a very, a lot of them are trying a lot of times to try to go to the boundaries. By the way,
right.
The boundaries is also managing to define the people, who we are. So this is why they're all the time trying the boundaries. But the boundaries, or the not allowed things that they're doing, this is where they're managing to miss a lot of things, because it's very tempting to go to those places where it's not allowed. Questions?
Rabbi, since you're on that question about free will and surrounding the event, Zakia down in South America on YouTube here is kind of asking that question. I know you've touched on it here a little bit. I mean, she had asked about, well, does this mean that the evil inclination did the free will for them, or is it actually just provoking that? And so we were chatting a little bit about that on YouTube. Can you elaborate where the line was crossed for Eve in the free will? Where was the free will prior as well? That we know Hashem, told them to freely eat of all the trees. But the question she had is, was it the evil inclination in her that did in Chava that did the action? Or was it from the deceit? Or what is the boundary line in there between our own individual culpability?
Rabbi Chaim, can I say something before you explain?
Yes.
This situation to me appears as it actually teaches several lessons that I understand. The first one is that we know that the minute we don't follow God's rules, there's going to be a trouble. So God teaches us, as soon as we open the Bible, the first thing that's shocking that comes to our mind, because we don't really, the light was created, sun was created, what's in it for me? We think about the first thing, oh, woman did something wrong, and this is what happened. But the core of it is my understanding that if we don't follow God's rules, there's going to be consequences. That's the first thing that I understood.
I much love the word consequences than trouble. Okay?
Trouble.
No. The word is
consequences.
Yes, this is what's happening. If
right.
Doing something, these are consequences. Okay?
And then the second thing that I understand is before Hava ate the fruit, they were in the garden just existing, making no decisions, just eating, living, doing whatever. That, I think, is almost like turning the switch on. Let's turn it on. Let's give the opportunity to these two humans to exercise their free will so that they can kind of get out of this robotic situation and see where they are going to go from here, see what they're understanding. And as soon as that opportunity arises, I'm thinking that God has used serpent to test how they will exercise their free will. And the first thing the humans did, exercising in free will, Adam wouldn't touch it because Adam's already, okay, this is the rule. I'm going to just go with that. But when the female side of human came in the picture, which is the questioning, why is it like that? Is it like that? As soon as an inclination came into her mind, said, okay, I'm going to exercise my free will, but how am I going to exercise my free will? I'm going to decide first, is this really what God said? Like you were saying, in our brains, we can go to all kinds of directions, and
Right.
we must stay in that one line, not go to the right, not go to the left, and stay. So through our exercise of free will, we now understand, okay, now however everything was before is no longer it is, because we have made a decision to go against. Something along those lines. And I'm going to stay quiet now.
You're saying good things. First of all, you're saying good things, and you're saying correct things. And it's also a bit connected to the question that you asked me, Dan, through the who it was in the
Our friend Zakia down in South America.
Okay. So we're saying that in the Garden of Eden, it was a bit, this opportunity, they had also free will, because if they didn't have the free will, God can't obey them to eat from this and not to eat from that.
Right.
God can't obey someone who is a robot to not to do this and to do that. Therefore, they had the free will, and we can see that also with how they fell down. Okay, they didn't manage. But in the beginning, this thing of doing against God was outside them a bit. It's hard to say, because all of this situation of the Garden of Eden, it's something that we don't know here. We don't know exactly how it was, or what's happening there. We were never there. But basically, today it's inside us. Today it's inside us. We have two sides inside ourselves through the brain. Okay, with the brain we have those two sides, and this is where we need to decide what are we taking and what not. Are we going on in the right lines, or are we going in the wrong path? And this is what's happening today. Here we learned what or how we can fall down to the wrong places. Okay, because this is a very build-up structure. When you're learning a bit what's happening, what God said, what the serpent said, what the woman answered, we can see how we can fall down to the wrong path. Now, there's another thing there that we need to know, that our sages are saying that God from the beginning wanted that to bring that men will die in this world, and he will manage to get worthy his world to come through the actions that he's doing in this world. But God didn't create us in the beginning like that. He gave the men the possibility to fail, and this is how we came to this stage that we are dying in this world. Okay, there's also a verse in Psalms about that, that God, Noah alila al ben Adam, okay, God organized that men will fall down in this situation, therefore there will be death in this world, and in the time that he is here in this world, he will manage to do actions that will bring him to the world to come.
Amen. I think the biggest point is that we understand that Hashem created it anyways. You know, he made us anyways, knowing that this was going to happen. And the point being that the exertion of free will plays a part. But the biggest key here is that they knew they were not supposed to, and they did it anyways. And I think that brings it back to your point in the beginning of the lesson, that they were naked and they were ashamed and they sewed fig leaves.
It's true. This is true. And we need to understand that in this, also in this situation, it's very complicated to realize all of this. But I think the main question now is to ask ourselves, and this is something that we see, okay, our great rabbis are asking those questions. How come man, after he did this sin, suddenly got such a present, okay, that he has the knowledge between good and evil. Before that, okay, he didn't have the knowledge of good and evil. So after he ate from the fruit that it was forbidden for him, he got, I will say, something such a good present that he knows what is good and evil. Before that, he didn't know that.
Yes,
at the same time, we also realize that there's an evil before humans' creation, right?
This is true. This
Can
is
I
true.
also
I
say
agree with
something about this?
Yes, Mama Jane.
I don't like the word.
Just a moment. I will let you to tell. I just
Okay.
want to answer you, Ella. It's true that you're saying that the evil was before man was created, but we have also in the world of men good and evil. Until the time that he didn't do the sin, he wasn't inside this in his world. And this is a question.
Innocent.
Mama Jane, what do you want? Mama Jane,
Well,
yes.
I was going to say, I don't like this word evil being tossed around. I would say disobedience. And I think we can apply this even to all of us today, because we've been given this lovely planet to live on and we despoil it all the time, just as they did. I mean, this is happening all the time. We really are ruining our whole environment with complete disregard. We don't consider anything to be sacred. And I think it's a very similar situation to what was happening there.
Rabbi, can you touch base on the word good and evil? What Hebrew word actually was used in there, just so that we understand? Because I think Mama Jean made a good point.
First of all, you said a very good point. A very good point you said here, Mama Jean, and it's very nice. The Hebrew words of good and evil is tov vera. Okay, tov vera. By the way, the word evil, let me tell you something. There are 20,000 words that in English that came from the Hebrew. Okay?
20,000.
20,000 words. I held, okay, the dictionary that is from in the English of the 20,000 words that in English that came from Hebrew. Okay?
Directly.
One of the words is the word evil. It's in Hebrew we say avel. Avel is doing bad things, and evil is doing bad things. Okay, so in the Bible it says avel. This is how we say it in Hebrew. In English you say evil. By the way, if you will ask yourself, the word earth, for example, the word earth in the Hebrew you say eretz, and the word earth is almost the same. It's coming from the Hebrew. The word wine is coming from the Hebrew. There are 20,000 words like that, okay? But it's when I'm saying good and evil, it's true that the word evil is not the right word. The most exact word is good and bad. There are good things and there are bad things. And this is also the bit of the answer. Before that, the words good and bad are relatively words, okay?
Relativity.
It might be, relative, yes. It might be that something that is good now, in a different situation, it's a bad one. And in another different situation, it's even better one. You know, so it's relative.
Right. Rabbi, can I just expound? Because when you throughout your teachings, I'm able to understand that if you think of an animal, okay, and the actions of an animal are always yes, no. They're yes or no. Whereas good and bad are completely different than yes, no. You could say yes, no is a choice, but the notion of free will is far more than just the act of choosing, right? It has the ambitious drive. It has the forethought for reason and purpose that an animal does not have. So to an animal to do something, it's yes or no, whereas a human, you have the essence of what is good and bad over yes or no. So when they were told not to eat of the tree, they knew there would be repercussion. For in that day you will surely die, as Rabbi clarified. So they knew there was bad attached to the action if they did it, okay, beforehand. And so there's the action of the will. And I know that where things are going, if you understand Torah, it's not just going from yes. Humanity's actions is not just yes, no, or even good, bad, but transcending the notion of good and evil, transcending the good, bad. When you talk about, like I've heard Rabbi share about a restoration of the notion of prophecy. When humanity reaches that point where they're no longer looking at it, like you're saying, Mama Jean, good or evil, because there are stigmas attached, but the action itself is, I think, all that the text is conveying. And then humanity gets stuck in a rut. And we see here in the West, I don't know if you know any 50s horror movies. You know, there were popular monster movies in the 50s where they started to draw notions, and the imagination of man was painting all kinds of things as evil that in fact were nothing more than imagination. And fears all start to stem out of the lie, the sheker nature of a story, whereas the Torah is speaking the truth, so that the growth and the tutoring takes us beyond. Because if you look at the punishment, for the sin in the Garden of Eden, when the Lord God says to them all these punishments, it's actually because you didn't finish this degree of tutoring. You know, in pain you're going to give labor. In other words, there was an existence, like we know how women, they have a needle today that prevents the pain from giving birth, childbirth, but in pain they were going, and you know, with Adam it was the sweat of your brow shall you till the soil. There was from incomplete tutoring, and I think that's an aspect that people need to at least grasp. Sorry, Rabbi.
No, I don't need to sorry. You're saying good things tonight. Very nice, very good. I would like to nail it again. Okay, the difference between what happened before the sin and after the sin. Let's take, for example, today. If I will put a bonfire and I will ask people to go inside, everybody knows that if they will go inside, they will get burned. So they're not going inside. But it's not a question of good and bad. It's a question of truth and false. Okay. The truth is that you're not allowing yourself to go inside to the fire, to put your hand inside the fire, because you know what will happen then. Okay. There are questions about good and bad. A lot of questions about good and bad, and it's very relative. Depends on the generation, depends on the place in the earth, depends a lot of things. Okay. For example, okay, I will take very hard examples. Okay, with your permission. For example, there are places still today in Africa where it's very good to eat a white man. If you will be there, God forbid, okay, they might eat him because it's good to eat, the white man, to eat him. It's okay. Usually, we know that the rest of the world, it's not good. You're not doing those things. So the question of good and bad. I'll take a very lower example. We know that men all over the world, one of the uniquenesses of the human being is that he's getting dressed. But there are places that he's getting dressed very nicely with a tie. There are places he's getting dressed only with a t-shirt. And there are places where the only thing that he's doing is putting some sort of a feather on his head, and that's it. Except for that, all of the rest is he's naked. So tell me, it's good or bad? It's not good or bad. It's related to the place. And what happened is, before men did the sin, everything was very clear with him, with truth and false. Okay, what is truth and what is not? to put his hand inside the fire, it's not something good. It's not something that he can do. Okay. Now, after he did the sin, there are a lot of things that are starting to become with a question of
Muddy water. Yeah.
Related. Exactly. It's a good or bad. And it's related to a lot of things. And this is why men fell down one stage, because before that, he basically wasn't supposed to do any sins. I will say it like that, because every sin is the false. You're not doing it. And every true thing that you need to do is okay. After he fell down from the higher level that he was, he fell down to the level of good and bad, where he might do mistakes because of the relativity of those issues that he's asking. I will give another example that everybody knows. Is it good to do an abortion or not? Or what time you're saying to yourself, until here, it's okay to do an abortion, and from now on, it's not allowed. Okay? Those are questions, those are moral questions that being answered differently around the world, okay, in different places, where and how to do those things. There are also people who say that it's not bad to do an abortion, also in the latest part of the pregnancy. Now, as we can see, now, if we were in the stage, I will say, of before the sin, it wasn't even a question. We know exactly the line where it's good and where it's bad, where it's true and where it's false. Today, the world have a lot of debates about this issue, about taking out the needle. We got questions from Brazil, okay, from people, from nurses who are being asked in the hospitals today, in those days, to kill this one, to take out, all the emergency with everything with the coronavirus, and not to kill another one. And they're asking themselves why. And the answer is because he's already 70 years old and this one is only 50 years old. Let's try to save this one. And those are questions of today. We don't have true and false answers because we fell down from the level that we were in the Garden of Eden. Today we have answers of good and bad. And this is where we're starting to have a lot of inside questions. What is a good thing to do and what is not? So we have also the lines in the Bible, in the Torah, okay, the Torah. And we also took out the Brit Shalom book that hopefully when you will come back down from your exams and all of those things, a lot of blessings basically, hopefully, we will also do lessons on the Brit Shalom. So the Brit Shalom is trying to bring the lines, the exact lines, what is good, what is true, what is false, through the eyes of God, through the sages of Israel. But it's not that all of the world already is saying, okay, we are there, we agree, we believe in this and everything is okay. This is where we're moving the world back to. But until then, we went down a lower one stage where we don't understand, we don't know how to define truth and false, but we're trying to define good and bad.
Okay, can I say, I have to say something here. Okay. No, because I have lived for very many years in Africa, okay? And there was a time, not so very long ago in Africa, where nakedness was not regarded as anything. It was a very normal thing.
Amoral.
Until the Christians turned up and said, oh, this is a sin. The other thing is, until very recently, I haven't been in Africa since the 1990s, but if anybody became pregnant in an African village, and one of your famous American politicians said this, in fact, the whole village took care of that. There was nothing like sin or bad or
abortion.
What. It was taken as a perfectly normal, natural thing.
Right.
A girl had a child. They didn't give a name to that girl. And now in the West, we're going somewhere else because we don't have these kind of communities anymore. We don't have a community where people are prepared to look after somebody else's child. We don't see that child as part of us because we are we've got this very individual attitude now. I don't know. This is a very long thing. We need another whole lesson on this.
It's true. This is true. You're saying good points. Angela and Mike, do you have anything to say, to add? We didn't hear you. How's things there in the United Kingdom? Right?
Everything's very, very quiet at the moment, Rabbi, but one question there.
Yes.
Going through chapter 2, God made Adam, and he told Adam not to eat of the tree. And then 3 verses later, God made a companion. Now, was the companion brought in to test and to do this?
I want to say I didn't catch exactly your question. Please explain it a bit more.
What did he say?
He's saying, was woman brought in to help Adam to make that exercise his free will and eat the fruit? Maybe is that?
He used the word
what I'm
test.
Okay. So the answer is no. Okay, a very big no. The woman was brought to Adam to manage, as we explained. You were not in this lesson 2 or 3 lessons ago. We explained that the woman was brought to Adam because before that, you know what? I will show this to you, please. Okay, I will show this to everybody to remind us.
It was to help, from what I remember.
Not only to help, more than that. Okay, it was much more than that.
Because he was lonely.
Yeah. Not only was lonely. We say these words, and the Lord God said, "It is not good." The world wasn't good. Why it is not good? Because man is alone. Okay. Now, what is the meaning that it's not good because man is alone? It's not the exact translation. And we explained that. What is happening there? What is happening there?
To understand. He needed
Sorry?
to understand. He needed to understand of himself, and he couldn't do it.
Exactly. Thank you, Lisa. Without, what happened is that men became very lonely in this world. And it's not worth anything, this world, if men have no ability to learn himself. He can learn everything in this world except of himself. And this is why God split him to 2. Okay? And he brought the woman to him. And then we learned in a very exact way how exactly he split them. Okay? One with each other. And this is the way that man can start to learn himself. And only then the world can be good. Without that, the world is not good. So men and women together are on the level that they can teach one each other about themselves. And this is the way that man is starting to learn. Not only the world, but also inside. This is why God created the woman from the man. Now, it's true that one of the things that happened is that both of them did the sins. I will tell you something, and this is something that I'm not going to explain now, but I'm going to show that, okay? I'm going to show that. I want to share with you that if you will look good and close in chapter number 3, you will see that the woman was never being kicked out from Eden, only men, okay? Only men. We need to learn that. We need to understand what happened there. But she didn't really do the sin.
So the woman couldn't stay in the heaven, in the garden.
Yes. And the reason that they are here because we need help. Okay. And more than that, when we will learn exactly the sin of the man and the woman, we will see that the woman didn't do a sin. Only the man did the sin. Okay.
Because only he was told direct.
He was told direct, and he did the sin, the exact sin. Now we see, okay, it's written down here. Please read verse number 23.
And the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the soil whence he had been taken.
That's it. So who we threw out? Only Adam. Okay? We know that he got the punishment of till the soil, right? She got a different punishment. So we are supposed to write them down here that, and he also kicked, or he sent also the woman out from Eden. So she will, how did he say it before? That she will, it's written down here, that she will
increase your sorrow and your pregnancy. In pain you shall bear
but
children.
it's not saying this sentence. And we say that only man was kicked out from Eden. So the woman is here only to help us to live right. So, and again, another thing that we need to know, her sin was different, okay? We need to understand. We will learn it next week, hopefully. What exactly was the sin? Was the sin of the man and the woman? But it's not that this is a very wrong way of thought to think that God, it's coming from the thought that God is trying to have a competition with men, and he's trying to put him down. So he brought him a woman that she will let him down. We don't have any competition with God. God is doing only good things for us. And he brought the woman so we will manage to grow up and to learn. They did a mistake. So he sent out the men from Eden. And because we can't live without the woman, so they came out also. They did us a very good favor. But God is always doing things that are good for us, not trying to do a competition with us or to fail.
I'm very much interested in that subject.
Sorry?
I'm very much interested in that subject about woman. I don't know why I have this thing that we can do so much and we know so little about ourselves. And it's only through Judaism that I am learning so many things about women that I've never saw these perspectives before. So it's not, we're not against man. We don't have to be like man. We are what we are, and men are what they are, and it's never going to be the same. But we can still live together in harmony. So I think that it's so precious. There's so much I need to learn about that, Rabbi. I wish you can really extend on that subject. I don't know.
The only thing I can say now is that if you will look in 3 countries where we have women, as the leaders of the countries, in Germany, in New Zealand, and the third place, I forgot now the third place.
North Korea?
I thought Brazil used to have or has.
No, Brazil have a man there, but those 3 countries, they're managing with the coronavirus in much better way than all of the other countries.
Yeah.
Think about this also, Lizzie. Okay.
Yeah.
But we need the women to be part more in the politics. Maybe the world will have less war in the world when the women will come to the politics.
Rabbi, I have a question. We might not have enough time to answer it this session, but it's a question in my mind. Maybe we can touch base another time. When God said, if you eat from that tree, you will die, but in fact, they didn't die, at least physically. Can we touch base on that at some point? I need to understand.
First of all, we're going to learn next week about the tree of knowledge and tree of life. We'll see this again, this point, and we will continue on. Second thing is there is a verse in Psalms that says that every day of God is 1,000 years. Okay, and both of them died in the first 1,000 years of this world, Adam and Eve. So Adam died after 930 years, and Eve died even before that. So they both died in the day of God. Think about this like that. He said to them, in the day that you will eat from this, you will die. And we know in Psalms it says that one day of God is 1,000 years. So in the same day of God, they died. Very simple. It's a simple answer, okay? There's also much deeper answers, but this is
wow.
Wow. This has been great.
Okay.
In 1 hour, I learned 30 years worth of stuff. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Are we winding it down, Rabbi?
Time for donations.
Always you can give donations to the Noahide World Center. This is the place to give the donations. You can go to the site and give donations, and people are giving donations. Thank you very much for that. It's helping us. We would like to organize a system, I will say, of donations to the countries that we need more help. You know, we have the countries in England, in the United States, in Canada, who are much more strong and healthy, and we have the countries we have a very large community in India. Yaakov Yacobi is with us from this place, and we have also a lot of communities in Africa, and they need help, and we are going soon to publish an opportunity that people from wealthy countries will be able to hold the poor countries and to help us, to assist us to do more and more things. So this is coming soon, but of course you're all, everything that you're donating to the Noahide World Center, it's going back to you, back as usual.
Right.
And thank you very much for attending tonight. We're going to meet also next week. We're going to miss you, Dan.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna miss you, Dan.
Yeah.
oh, I won't be gone forever. So,
No, but we wish you the best of luck and succeed in your test there.
oh, thank you, sir. That means a lot coming from you folks. It does. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
right.
Be fine. It's going to be fine. You know, Hashem's will is done. Yeah, it's just I need to make certain. So, yeah, yeah. I'm going to be busy, and I look forward to it. And these classes are dear to me. They're very dear to me, and I know we got some good stuff coming down the road, inevitably. And I look forward to just seeing more people grow and more people grow into their place in this world, and make the world a better place where you are in your community, and affect the world abroad. And you know, it's this Zoom room is just an example. I mean, we've got people here from all around the globe. We even have, who do we have here from Australia today? We had, or has he stepped out?
Stefan was here.
Yeah, Stefan was here, from Australia. We've got, India. I've got people online from India. I got people online from Indonesia. I got people from every corner of this globe to come together and truly just meet and say, hey, we want to know the truth from Torah. I love the sheer fact that it's shining out of Israel. I believe that's in line with Torah Tanakh, that's the purpose of Israel, is to do this. And when we all get together, I think that there's like a budding plant, that a flower that just starts to grow and begin to produce what it's supposed to produce. So it's a joy to be a part of that. And I'm not going to step away from it. I just need to do this for a bit. And I need you to understand, I could virtually retire myself. I could sit back, I drive an S-Class Mercedes, and I could sit back and just live happily ever after. But I cannot further what I want to be an assistant in with the Noahide cause and stay retired. I'm only in my early 50s. I still got a little bit of life in me. And so for me to take on the livelihood I am, it meets my need, and allows me to open up opportunities in my community. And I hope some of you guys take example from that. It's just as I take example from the rabbi. So,
okay, everything is okay. Fine. Thank you very much, and a lot of blessing and success to all of you. Have a blessing week. I need to go down. I need to shut down this.
So, Rabbi, folks, make sure you connect with the rabbi so you know where to meet for the next several weeks. And Hashem willing, I'll be back in.
It's staying the same Zoom room. And we will continue on. We unfortunately without the lights of Dan, or the pyrotechnical things of Dan, but we will come back to that after that. It's okay.
All right.
Okay.
Bye for now, folks.
Thank you. Have a great evening, Rabbi.